In Africa today, there is a phone company that sells more phones than even Samsung and Apple, yet is widely unknown in the West. And what's even strange is that this company originates from China. Wait, let me take you on this ride. So this company I'm about to talk about is called Transsion Holdings. Now, Transsion was founded around 2006 in Hong Kong, China, by Mr. Zhu Zhaotian. Let's just call him Mr. George Zhu for now, because that's what the internet knows him by. So in 2006, Mr. George Zhu founded the company Tecno Telecommunications, which later was renamed to Transsion Holdings and now rules the continent of Africa when it comes to possession of the mobile phone market. Let's dive deep into how Transsion conquered the African markets. You see, the key ingredients for Transsion Holdings' conquest of the African phone market or telecommunication market as it stands now traces back to one major thing, and that is the ignorance of Africa by the Western phone brand. So, in the early ages of mobile phones, dominance of the market and its eruptions on the market taking over from the telephones and landlines, Western brands like Apple and Samsung were the pioneers and then the key leaders of the market at that time, even though they were larger companies within those markets years of 2006. Like we had Motorola on the market, we had Nokia on the market. But you see, in today's world, when you mention the mobile phone or the cell phone market, it's Apple and Samsung that are championing the cause. So let's focus on them. So in 2006, when Transsion Holdings was first launched, the African phone market was ignored by Apple, Samsung, and other dominant key players in the market at that time for some major reason. Number one was because of the low income of the continent. In the African continent, let's not beat around the bush. Most countries on the continent are still developing countries. In fact, almost more than half of the continent is still a developing economy trying to find its feet. Most economies on the continent are low-income earning economies, making it difficult for them to adjust to goods with prices as same as people in the US market. Because let's take it into example. Someone in the US or UK might be earning $11 per hour, which to them is minimal. But someone in some countries in Africa will be earning that same $11 within a month or weeks, which when you compare and contrast, the price of an average iPhone is around $400. So imagine how long it would take for someone in the African continent to save to buy that phone. And aside the low income, another factor that played a key role in the African being ignored is our infrastructure. Because let's be in those ages, Africa had poor infrastructure development towards adapting to the modern communication that was rising. So even though we had some level of infrastructure, it wasn't even enough to support the landline communication network, more or less come to the mobile network. And for these reasons, companies like Apple, Samsung, Motorola, Nokia weren't targeting the African market in their ads and their product launches, but rather they focused on the Western market. And Transsion Communication or Transsion Holdings saw a major gap on the continent that needed to be filled. So they took their chances, and in 2008, Transsion Holdings officially entered the African market with feature phones, which in some parts of Africa are called a keypad, and in Ghana and some parts of the West African sub-region, we also call it Yam, due to some advertisements that went viral by Itel Tibu some years back. You see, after years of staying on the market, the African market with feature phones, which we still can call a keypad, Transsion has studied from 2008, 2009, 2010, 11, 12, 13. They've studied the market enough and they've seen that they have grown a kind of cult fan base in the African market, just like brands such as Samsung and Apple were enjoying in the Western market. So decided to go big in 2014 and yet they say 2024. So in 2014, Transsion decided to go big on the African market. When I say big, I mean in 2014, they launched their first series of fully fledged smartphones onto the African market under their brands that they used to operate in the market. Now, since 2008 that they've been in the market, they've been able to study the market trends and also analyze the key problems that have held brands like Apple and Samsung from influxing the African market. And they've analyzed it very much that they've trained the algorithm to adapt to the African market. Some of these key things that made this easy for them is they created phones with cameras that better adapted to darker skinned people, unlike Apple and Samsung that focus on the Western market. So they didn't optimize their camera system to adapt to our darker skins, as you can see in this part of the world. They also went the extra mile of producing phones that have batteries that would last maybe some of their batteries lasted 24 hours according to their ads and campaign. And even from user testimonials, some users even said based on their daily usage of their phone, their batteries lasted 3 days. Some even are able to confirm that their batteries have lasted a week and above. But I haven't had that experience, where I can't say something for myself. But that's what the market says. And with those strategies, it's catapulted their reputation on the continent immediately after they launched their series of smartphones on the continent. Transsion Holdings wasn't going to end their marketing strategies over there, so they took it a notch further by introducing something that was never done on the continent. You see, in these ages, Apple still to today do not have physical shops in Africa because they are not targeting third world economies as their major target audience. I don't know if it's an official thing from Apple or it's just a notion that they are not going to this marketing, but I live in Ghana and I can tell you for a fact, you will not find any Apple official flagship store in my country to buy an Apple product. So if you want to buy products from Apple, you will need to order it online. One, go to the countries like US or the UK to buy it yourself, or at best you will just have to depend on the second-hand market for goods from those companies, and that's very frustrating, but we just have to deal with it. And as for Samsung, after they seen the influx and dominance of companies like Transsion on the continent, they devised a strategy to approach the market and embrace it. So as I'm speaking to you now in 2026, Samsung has grown a fan base and has a couple of flagship stores on the continent that are operating for them successfully. Bro, so at this point, you've heard me mention Transsion several times, and you are losing the points of this conversation. The thing is, when Transsion Holdings decided to enter the African market, they did it strategically. So they first, in 2008, they entered the market with feature phones, and then after studying the market for a while, in 2014, they launched their smartphone series. But you see, when they were coming to the market, the African market, Transsion Holdings decided to go in a strategic marketing way to conquer the market. So what did you do? Transsion launched 3 major brands onto the market. The first brand they came in with was Itel. Now, Itel was Transsion's way of giving the African market a feel into the smartphone world without having to pay too much. So Itel was the flagship entry-level brand of the Transsion family for the African market. Then, moving on a notch higher from Itel, they brought in Infinix. Now, Infinix, which would sound like Infinity, the car brand, but no. Infinix was the middle ground brand or telecommunication brand by Transsion. We targeted the youth, and some way, somehow, it was the middle tier NS who were like the target audience for that brand. And also, as Infinix continued to grow, it has now attracted a kind of a cult in the gaming society, whereby gamers are really loving Infinix phones in the Transsion lineup than any other brand. And to top it all out and to crown the whole conversation, they have Tecno, which is their kind of premium tier of the Transsion family. So when you are entering as a beginner, you have the Itel, and then when you want to go a little higher, you have Infinix. And to top it all out, or to fill the whole premium vibe of the Transsion family, you have Tecno at the top. And since 2014, they've brought these smartphone lineups into the market. They have had hit after hit of legendary releases, and even though Samsung has also been trying to catch up in the market, Transsion has solidified its place on the African continent as the leading manufacturer and supplier of phones, and it holds the largest amount of phones being used on the continent, from the feature phones to the smartphone world, and that has been very impressive. But they are even going a little bit further than just smartphones. Transsion have built a very strategic approach to marketing that have worked for them very well in Africa, and they are looking at duplicating that across the globe. You see, when they came to Africa, their plan was steady, strategize, market, and dominate, and it worked perfectly for their brand, both from the Itel side, Infinix side, and the Tecno side. So what they are doing now is to spread their wings across other continents other than Africa. So right now, Transsion is doing very well in Southeast Asia. They are doing well. They are now officially trying to market their goods proper in their home market, which is China. And also, Transsion has capitalized on the Latin American markets, shipping their goods to that side of the world. And from there, we talk about some challenges they've been facing so far on the African continent, which is their biggest market. And their number one challenge so far has been the influx of other phone brands on the continent. You see, as Transsion came onto the market and have garnered some level of success on the continent, other phone brands from the western side and even its home country, China, looked at their strategies into the market and decided to use the same playbook to come and compete against them. And number one of these companies is Xiaomi. Now, Xiaomi has also moved into the African market with aggression and has built a kind of following on the continent. Vivo is doing the same. Samsung, as I told you earlier, have started doubling up on their effort to capture the market. And Apple is still being a little reluctant, but who knows, maybe in a few years' time, Apple might venture into having flagship stores on the continent and doing more to capture the market on the continent, because hey, a lot of us use Apple products, and even me right now, I'm recording with an Apple product, so who knows what's next for us in Africa. Many marketers on the continent of Africa are deeming Transsion as the king of African phones, and this is quite a huge title, but they really deserve it because they didn't just come to the market to sell their product, but they came to the market to evolve the African market. And even moving further from mobile brands that they have, Tecno, Itel, and Infinix, one key thing that makes Transsion phones attractive to buyers is because they care so much about their customers. And when I'm saying this, I really mean this because just a year after Transsion entered the African market, they launched their after-sales service brand, which is Calcare or Calcare. I don't know how they pronounce it, but this company was targeted as helping customers fix problems that may arise with any phones bought from the Transsion lineup of brand, be it Itel, Tecno, Infinix, and whatnot. So they did their job very well with this marketing strategy, and since 2009, Calcare has been one of the largest so far, if not the largest on the continent when it comes to after-sales service. And you see, from my personal experience, I bought a smartwatch from the Transsion family, a Tecno smartwatch. And within few days of using the watch, I realized the watch was misbehaving. So about a month after purchase, I returned it. And surprisingly, that was when I got to realize the smartwatch has a 12 plus 1, that's 13-month warranty on it. And just after 3 days I left it behind because I needed to go somewhere. And just after 3 days, I received a call from the head office of the Calcare branch that I submitted the phone to that should come for it. And when I went, because they realized repairing the smartwatch might actually not give me the experience I was hoping to get, they just straight up replaced it with a brand new fresh unboxed watch. And that is something you won't expect from Apple or the other ones. But hey, Transsion just does it very well. Moving away from just the after-sales service brand that they've released, which is Calcare, in the year 2013, just to predate the release of their smartphone series in Africa, Transsion launched Oraimo in Nigeria. Now, Oraimo is a brand almost nobody will imagine is owned by Transsion, but Oraimo is their accessories department of Transsion. Even though there are brands like Tecno, Infinix, and Itel, Tecno and Itel in particular are big when it comes to accessories like smartwatches, earbuds, and other smart accessories like power banks and whatnot. Transsion decided to give another whole feel of the family by launching Oraimo onto the market in 2013. And since their introduction into the market, I kid you not, Oraimo is so far, in my opinion, the best accessory brand for an African on the continent. Well, I may say I have not personally bought their gadget before, but what I've heard on the internet and word out there, they have solid gadgets out there for the African market. And you see, their gadgets, one key thing about Transsion is their gadgets or their appliances are not overpriced as some rivals on the market. And to crown it all up in their diversification portfolio, Transsion in the year 2015, Transsion launched their home appliance brand Infinix. Now, we all know Itel has TVs and other home appliances that they produce. Tecno also have TVs, laptops, just like Itel, and Infinix is not that much loud on those gadgets in what I know so far. But in 2015, Transsion decided to give another whole feel of their branding to the African market by launching Infinix. Now, Infinix or Sinix or whatever they call it, is a home appliance brand that focuses on producing TVs, fridges, and just any home appliance at all that you can think of from the Transsion family to their users. That's the one company that does not think mostly about money, but not just about the money they are making from the continent, but they've built an ecosystem around the African market that really works well for them. And I must say, Africa does not appreciate it. Even though I know we purchase the appliances, but I feel like Africa is not giving them the heroic feeling that much, because hey, this is a company that have made the African market attractive to other markets who before were ignorant of the African market, but now they are flooding in on the continent to market their products onto the market. So Chade, personally in 2026, I'm wishing to get my hands on one of the Transsion flagship devices, especially from the Tecno and Itel family. But hey, let's just hope and pray someone from the company sees this video and finds it worthy of rewarding. So Charlie, we will vibe in the next one. But before you go, you might want to check this video I did about the worth of buying an iPhone XR in 2026. We should be somewhere here or here. So go check it out. And that's it. Subscribe and see you in the next one, bro.